Hello, everybody. Not to worry. I am Frank Morano, your friendly neighborhood city councilman, but this is not another video from a politician telling you, oh my goodness, it's going to rain. Be careful of the rain. Be careful of the flooding. Now, of course, you should be careful of the rain and you should not attempt to drive through floods, but I don't know that you need, I feel like you'd be able to figure that out without the 50th politician telling you that. There is a story that I did want to highlight for you that's in the New York Post today that caught my attention because it connects directly to something we were examining in the city council just last week. And because there was a lot of other things going on in the council last week, everything from paraprofessionals to horses and everything else, I don't think that the particular hearing that I'm about to tell you about got the attention that it deserved. So Mayor Mamdani's administration has launched what it calls a campaign to build tenant power. They're organizing volunteers, they're knocking on doors, they're holding meetings, they're helping tenants organize around bad conditions and problem landlords. And there's nothing wrong with empowering tenants or anyone, quite frankly, or making sure people know their rights. Although I don't know that I'll see this administration spending the same emphasis on making sure people know their Second Amendment rights, but whatever. According to the Post, two pretty important groups were conspicuously absent from the specific focus of this campaign: NYCHA residents and Mitchell-Lama residents. And when I read that, it struck me because just last week, as a member of the City Council's Finance Committee, I participated in a hearing, and you could watch this hearing for yourself. I think it was July 15th. It's on the City Council website. You can watch it. I participated in a hearing where we examined many of the same underlying problems facing Mitchell-Lama residents. Now, that hearing wasn't about NYCHA. It focused specifically on Mitchell-Lama housing, but it raises a larger question. Is City Hall putting as much energy into fixing the housing government already basically that we're already responsible for, as it is into putting into organizing campaigns and holding events? Because tenant empowerment, sure, that's important, but so is competent government and competent administration over the housing, the public housing that New York City already has domain over. Mitchell-Lama was created to provide affordable housing for working and middle-class New Yorkers. But according to testimony we received from the administration, 37 Mitchell-Lama developments received rent or maintenance increases last year, averaging approximately 29% over multiple years. At Tracy Towers in the Boogie Down Bronx, residents are facing an increase of roughly 30%. Think about that. We're talking about housing whose entire purpose is affordability, and the people living there are facing increases of that magnitude. And one sentence in HPD's testimony really jumped out at me when they testified before our committee last week. They acknowledged that when some of these buildings finally raise rents or maintenance charges, they can be making up for many years all at once. And I think that raises a pretty obvious question. Where was the oversight during those years? And I'm not blaming Mayor Mamdani for this. This goes back toward multiple mayors, multiple administrations. The senior citizen living on a fixed income didn't decide how much money went into reserves. The working family didn't make the capital plan. The tenant didn't negotiate the insurance contract or make the final decisions. Yet when years of financial problems finally come due, somehow the tenant becomes the shock absorber. That's not a sustainable definition of affordable housing. And this is where I think government needs to do better. We need an early warning system that identifies financial trouble before it becomes a crisis. If a Mitchell-Lama development is heading towards serious financial distress, government should know that years in advance, not when somebody walks into HPD asking for a massive rent increase. We also need some transparency. If government is going to tell a working family or a senior citizen's, hey, the numbers require your rent or maintenance to go up, then that resident ought to have the right to see the numbers. Show them the reserves, show them the operating costs, show them the management fees, show them the major contracts that all play a role into what bills they're paying. Show them the capital needs, and show them what government and management did to prevent the crisis before the bill landed in the tenant's mailbox. The council's briefing also cited a state controller audit that found serious problems with physical and financial oversight, including approximately $2.3 million, $2.3 million in misspent or inadequately documented funds at developments that were examined. So before we ask working people and seniors for another dollar, they deserve to know what the dollars that we're already collecting are properly spent. And there's another number that should concern everybody. The city estimated that more than 158,000 households were eligible for SCREE or similar programs designed to freeze rents for eligible seniors and people with disability. Only about 67,000 were actually receiving the benefit. So that's a utilization rate of just 42%. Government loves announcing programs. I'm interested in whether those programs actually work. Give us a goal, give us a scoreboard. Tell us who's accountable for getting that 42% to 50%, then 60% and beyond. Because there's a difference between announcing a program and actually delivering results. And that brings me back to this new tenant power campaign. Helping tenants organize is fine. Helping anybody organize is fine. Teaching people their rights is great. But government can't substitute activism for administration. If City Hall wants to demonstrate that it stands with tenants, start with the people living in housing where government itself has a direct responsibility. Fix the conditions. Catch financial problems before they become crises. Make the finances transparent. Enroll every eligible senior and disabled New Yorker in the benefits they qualify for. And make sure affordability actually means something to the person writing the check every month. This should not be partisan. Whether the mayor's a Democrat, a Republican, a socialist, or anything else, New Yorkers deserve a government that works. The forgotten New Yorker doesn't care about another slogan. They want the elevator to work. They want mold removed. And they want to know, most important, that they can afford next month's rent. And they want somebody watching the books before there's a crisis, not after. That's the kind of accountability I'm going to continue pushing for as a member of the City Council's Finance Committee. Tenant power is certainly important, but I think a competent government is even more important. And New Yorkers deserve both. I'm hopeful we can get both. Thanks.